السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين، أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه والتابعين وتابعيهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. بعد إن شاء الله يعني today we continue about the fasting إن شاء الله تعالى, and بإذن الله today we talk about the conditions for the validity, actually the conditions for the obligation of fasting, and then the conditions for the validity of it. Regarding the validity, regarding the wujub, شروط الوجوب, the conditions for the obligation. يعني you have to meet certain criteria in order for fasting to be a must upon you. You have to meet a certain criteria in order for fasting to be a must upon you. These are the conditions for the wujub, the conditions for it becoming an obligation upon you. So as-siyam is a must upon every Muslim who is aqil, who is sane, who is qadir, who is able to fast, and who is a muqim. He is someone who is a resident. He's not someone who is a traveler, and who is free from anything that will stop him from fasting. So these are the descriptions for the Muslim who must fast. Sane, and I think I missed the word baligh, which is reaching the age of maturity or the age of puberty, the age where one becomes charged or becomes required to do the religious duties. There is a certain age by which obligations start upon the person. Before that, the person is a child under the age of puberty, under the age of doing the required obligations. This person, if he does those obligations, alhamdulillah, but he is not, or she is not required. It's not a must upon them. So every Muslim who is sane, who reached the age where he must do the obligations, bulugh, reached the age of maturity or the age of puberty, who is able to fast, and also he is not a traveler, he is a resident, and he is free also, he is free from things that will bar him. خال من شيء يمنعه من الصيام. Free from things that will stop him or bar him from fasting, and this will come inshallah more about this. So then الكافر لا يصوم then ولا يقبل منه الصيام. A disbeliever, someone who is not a Muslim, he does not fast, and fasting is not accepted from him even. يعني the non-Muslim is required to testify the testimony of faith first. He has to testify the testimony of faith first. La ilaha illallah subhanahu wa ta'ala Muhammadur Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Then after that, he is required to do the rest of the obligations like salah, like fasting. But before that, he has to become a Muslim first. Also, the one who is young in age, as-saghir, who did not reach the age of puberty, fasting is not a must upon him. Although kids are encouraged to fast, but it is not a must upon them to fast. Also, the one who does not have sanity, al-majnoon, then while he is in a condition like that, is like he does not have intellect, someone without intellect. So this one is not, while he is in that condition, he is not required or she is not required to fast. Also, the one who is unable to fast because of a continuous reason, like for instance, a continuous illness, مرض دائم, the illness that is continuous. This one, what does he do? What does she do? Sickness that is continuous, that they cannot fast alongside with it. They have to take medicine. They are too weak to fast, and so on and so forth. They cannot. They are unable to fast because of this reason, and then that reason is continuous. That reason or that sickness is continuous. What do? They break the fast. They do not fast. But then, instead of fasting, they have another obligation, and that is to feed one needy person for every day that they miss. They will feed one needy person for every day that they miss. Also, the one who is sick, but a sickness that is not continuous, a sickness that is temporal, sick for a month or 2 months or 3 months, and then after that they will heal. They are expecting to be healed. This person, if fasting is as difficult for him or her, then they do not fast. And after they heal from that sickness, then they make up the fast later on. They make up the fast later on after they get healed. So someone is sick, and this sickness does not allow him to fast because it's very difficult to fast, or they cannot, not very difficult, but they are unable to fast. But that sickness is temporal, temporary. It will last for some time, and then they will be healed. They need to go through an operation, or they need to take medicine for 2 months on a daily basis during the day and night. So this person is not going to be able to fast, and therefore they will make up the fast later on. The woman who is pregnant or breastfeeding, al-hamil wal-murdi', if fasting becomes difficult for them, whether it is because of the pregnancy, al-hamil, or because of breastfeeding, or maybe they fear, either it is difficult to fast because of pregnancy and breastfeeding. Some women, they have that difficulty. Some women don't. There is a general difficulty that happened to all of them, the pregnant and the breastfeeding women. There is a general difficulty that happens, but some of them, the difficulty is much more than the others. It gives them a lot of hardship. So those, they are allowed to break the fast. Or if the pregnant or the breastfeeding women, they fear actually for the babies. They fear for the babies. The pregnant woman, her baby might get hurt if she fasts, or the breastfeeding woman, maybe if she fasts, then she will not produce enough milk for her baby. Then they are also allowed to break the fast. So either they're having difficulty because pregnancy and breastfeeding, or they are actually afraid for the baby. They are afraid for the baby. So what do? They break the fast. They break the fast, and they make up the fast later on. تقضيان. And this is the position of the majority of the scholars. They say that uh, the women in this case are treated, pregnant and breastfeeding, they are treated like the sick person. They will break the fast and they will make up the fast. They will make up the fast. Now, this is in the case of as I said, it's a majority position that they make up. There is more detail for some of the scholars. There is more detail, and that is if they are afraid for their babies only. Right? There is the case where they are afraid for themselves. That one, they say you make up the fast. You break the fast and you make it up. If that is, they are afraid for themselves or their babies. But if they are afraid for the babies only, if they are afraid for the babies only, they say that they make up the fast, and they feed one needy person for every day they miss. And they are taking this from fatawa, some fatawa of the companions, some fatawa of the companions. So if they are afraid for themselves, then they make up the fast. If they are afraid for the baby, right? If they are afraid for the baby only, and if they are afraid for themselves and the babies, still they just make up. But if they are afraid for the babies only, then they make up later on. They break the fast, they make up later on qada, and they feed one person for every day they missed. So they make it up and they feed one needy person for every day they miss. Why? Because in this case they are not afraid for themselves, they are afraid for someone else, which is the baby. And there are some fatawa from the companions that are cited to support this. There is another position, which is that that they are like the sick person. They make up the fast, and they do not have to feed anybody. They do not have to feed anybody. There is another position, and it is based also on reports from the companions, like Abdullah ibn Umar and Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma, that these women, they are treated like the old man and the old woman. Those if they are too old, they may be able to fast. They may be able to fast, but with extreme difficulty and hardship for an older man or an older woman. So what do they do in this case? They break the fast, and they feed one needy person for every day they miss. The old man or the old woman, they are treated like what we mentioned before. العاجز عن الصوم لسبب دائم, the one who is unable to fast because of a continuous reason. I mentioned then that someone has a continuous sickness that is not expected to heal. Also, the same category is the old man and the old woman, whom fasting for them is too difficult. they go through difficulty in doing that. They may be able to fast, but then they will do it and it's going to be extremely difficult. So those are excused. They do not have to fast. They break the fast, but they feed one needy person for every day they miss. Some of the scholars of the companions and later on, tabi'un and other than them, they say that the woman who is pregnant or breastfeeding, they will break the fast. They break the who are not able to fast. If they are able to fast and there is no difficulty, they must fast. That's what they should be doing. As I said, women, يعني, they do not go through the same difficulties. Some of there is a general difficulty, but some of them it's not a problem. But many they do have a problem. They go through hardship and difficulty. Those are the ones we're talking about. And in this case, a group of the scholars of the past, including the companions and after them and the present scholars, they say the woman who's pregnant or breastfeeding and it is difficult for her to fast, then she breaks the fast. She does not make up. She feeds one needy person for every day she misses, right? So basically, we count the number of days and then they feed one needy person for every day they miss. That is especially if the woman this year she is pregnant, then next year she is breastfeeding. Next Ramadan came, she is breastfeeding. And then the next Ramadan came as she's still breastfeeding, right? Then the third year she got pregnant again, right? She got pregnant again. Then the following year she's breastfeeding. The year after she's still breastfeeding. So those are few Ramadans, 5 or 6 Ramadans that got collected one after the other. Then they have to fast 150 days or 180 days, right? And it becomes difficult to do that. So according to this position, they only they only need to make up they only need to feed one needy person for every day they miss, that, and that's all they have to do. And according to al-Imam Ishaq ibn Rahoya alayhi rahmatullah, the peer of al-Imam Ahmad rahimahullah ta'ala, he said about them تقضيان أو تطعمان, right? And this is a position that is there also. We give the pregnant or the breastfeeding woman who couldn't fast, say either you make up or you feed one needy person for every day you miss. And as I said, from the Sahaba who gave a fatwa like this, Abdullah ibn Abbas and Abdullah ibn Umar radiyallahu anhuma, and from the contemporary scholars that said this, that took this position, and it got widespread through him, alayhi rahmatullah, is the Sheikh Muhammad Nasruddin al-Albani, rahimahullah ta'ala. So this is the case. Now, the reason why I mentioned the details of this is that you do find sometimes some people they take a position and they act upon it, and then they feel that that was not, the right position, or they feel that, well, the majority of the scholars are saying something else other than what I did, and they start, so these are the available positions. Inshallah, if you used one of them, these positions are all اجتهادات سائغة. They are valid positions, So this is the case. Fatwas are by the scholars who have the credentials to issue these fatwas. So if you took any one of them, then that is fine. That is fine. The one who is forced to break fast, the one who is forced to break fast, then this person, he breaks the fast, yani for like an immediate reason. He had to break the fast right away. Then this one, he breaks the fast and he makes up. He makes up the day that he missed. As for the traveler, al-musafir, if he wished, he will fast. And if he wishes, he can break the fast. And if he broke the fast or she broke the fast due to travel, then they make up that day that they missed. That is all they have to do. That is all they have to do. The traveler, he just makes up the fast. And now, is it better to fast or is it better to break the fast? In general, the travel is a rukhsa, is an reduced position, is a lighter ruling that the traveler is given, is like given a concession. So don't put yourself in difficulty when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made things easy for you. This is the general rule, that if Allah gave you a concession, He gives you a lighter ruling, He gave you the way out of like difficulty, choose that and go for that. But if someone says, no, it's not actually a problem for me, it's not difficult for me to fast, especially when everybody fasts. It's actually more difficult for me to fast when I'm all alone. When I'm fasting, when everybody is fasting, I'd rather go through that rather than fast by myself later on. So if they want, alhamdulillah, as long as it's not difficult. If it is difficult, then it becomes, as we will know, it becomes disliked for them to do that. When Allah gave you a concession and then you are going through hardship and don't want to take that easy and lighter ruling. However, sometimes, not all the times, yani it's easier to break the fast. Sometimes is more difficult to break the fast. How is that? For instance, if you are traveling from here, if you are traveling from Toronto, going overseas, and your flight, let's say 6 o'clock, your flight is 6 o'clock. And as you know, these days, Maghrib, breaking the fast is like 8:07, 8:09, like those 8:10, 8:11 these days. So you are going to fast and you start fasting up until the time when you are leaving to the airport. That's the time when, and according to the Sunnah, there is a discussion on this, but that is the time when you are supposed to break the fast. So now you fasted most of the day, and now you're going to break the fast. This is now becomes more difficult for you to break the fast. It's easier to continue to fast because there are 5 or 6 hours or 4 hours that are left, and then you can break the fast. So why would you break the fast in this case? Yes, you are a traveler, right? Or in the case you are initiating the travel around Maghrib time, right? Or closer to Maghrib time. So let's say you are in Toronto and you wanted to travel to Windsor, for instance, by car. And 6 o'clock, you are going to leave. 8 8:12 or 8:15 is breaking the fast. So when you leave around 6, by the time you reach London, Ontario, 2 hours, that is the time now when breaking the fast, you should break your fast. Now, since you traveled at 6, you are allowed to break fast on the way. Let's say you reached Waterloo, for instance, yani 1 hour maybe before London. You can break the fast then, but then only there is 1 hour left for breaking the fast. Why would you break the fast? It becomes more difficult to fast. You're still allowed because you are already a traveler and you are already outside of the city. And according to everybody now, you can break the fast. But then again, you are almost there. There's 1 hour, 1 hour, 15 minutes, 2 hours to Maghrib. Why would you break the fast? It's easier to continue to fast. So this is the case. So a general rule, Allah gave us a concession for the traveler to break the fast. So we should use that. We should use that. But then if you want to fast, you can fast. If you want to break fast, you can break the fast. As long as you don't put hardship on yourself. If it becomes hard, then it is better for you to break the fast. And continuing to fast, although it is a hardship for you, then it is disliked, because it's like Allah is giving you an easy, lighter ruling, concession, and you are ignoring it and you don't want to take it. So do not be in that position. But generally, you're allowed to fast, you're allowed to break fast. And Rasulullah ﷺ used to travel. Some of the companions used to be fasting, and some of them used to break the fast. So this is okay, and this is okay. There are times when Rasulullah ﷺ told the people, commanded them to break fast. There were times where they were going out striving in the cause of Allah Azza wa Jal, and he told them that breaking the fast will give you more strength. So he commanded them that they break the fast, alayhi as-salatu was-salam. Lastly, the woman who is حائض والنفساء, the woman who is mensing, or she has the postpartum bleeding, after the bleeding after giving birth, the bleeding after giving birth. These they have a reason. هذا هو أحد الموانع. يعني they have a reason why not to there is not only reason why, there is something barring them, there is something preventing them from fasting, and that is the condition they are in. So it is not they cannot fast. They have to break the fast, and they have to make up those days that they missed due to the mensing or the postpartum bleeding that they are going through. They break the fast, and they make up these days that they missed. Now, in summary, that was the conditions for fasting to become a must. Now, briefly, the conditions for the validity of the fasting, the conditions for the validity of fasting. Number one, al-Islam. One has to be a Muslim for his fasting to be valid, Islamically speaking. As you know, sometimes a non-Muslim would fast. Like I think last year, one of the MPs, he did fast, and he informed of that. Yeah, and he wanted to feel like everybody else is feeling, like the needy people are feeling. So, Alhamdulillah, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide him to al-Islam and to become a Muslim. However, that fasting is invalid. The reason being that the one who did that is not a Muslim. Secondly, sanity. العقل, يعني you have to be intellectually يعني able, competent to do the fasting. As we mentioned, the one who's insane is not, so if you have someone whose condition is يعني he is sane for a few days and insane for other days, يعني the days he is sane he has to fast. The days insane, then he does not have to fast. Um, they mention also at-tamyiz, reaching the age of discernment, which is we have two things: the age of bulugh, reaching the age of puberty, and we have the age of discernment, sin at-tamyiz, where the child is able to discern. So he's not, or she's not old enough. يعني they're not in the age of puberty, but then they understand what they are doing. Like for instance, يعني you command the child to pray when they are the age of 7, right? And you discipline them when they reach the age of 10. You have to make it, although يعني it's not يعني it does not become a must up until they are actually in the age of puberty. But then imagine, starting at 7 years old, you tell the child to pray, right? Salatul Fajr, Salatul Dhuhr, Salatul Asr, Salatul Maghrib, Salatul Isha, and so on, up until they are 7, up until they reach 10. And then in 10, you still continue. And this time you discipline them. You make sure that, you have to pray, right? This child was like this. When they grow up, more than likely, they will be very much used to praying and they will not leave it. So but you do not start with someone, يعني alhamdulillah, if you tell them, they يعني pray with you, mashallah, even if they are 4 or 5 years, 60, we see that they, of course, without even wudu, or they just stand next to their parents and they pray like that. This is what we call, they did not reach the age of discernment, because at 7 you don't just tell them pray. You tell them pray, meaning you tell them to do the prayer with its conditions for validity. Yani at 7 years, you tell them to make wudu too. They make wudu and they pray the prayer. And they understand. Make sujood, then sit in between. Then, the one who did not reach the age of discernment, still younger than that, they might make sujood, then stand up for ruku', then they read this, they leave the salah, they come back whenever they want. They did not reach the age of discernment, sin tamyiz. They can differentiate and distinguish between things. That is sin tamyiz, the age of discernment, the age when the child can differentiate between things and do things, and this could be even before 7. This could be even before 7, like 6, or it depends on the child. So uh, some of the scholars, they said that for the fasting to be valid, the child has to be at the age where they can distinguish and discern between things, right? So this is the case here. That's what they mean by a tamyiz, for the child to be at the age of discernment. That is when the fasting becomes valid. If they do not reach the age of discernment, they don't know what they're doing really. So they might say fasting, and then they are drinking. They don't distinguish. They cannot, you know, understand that, don't eat, don't drink, don't. They don't understand that. So if they are beyond, earlier, younger, much younger, to discern and distinguish, then even if they fast, the fasting is not is not valid from them. Also, زوال الموانع is a condition يعني for the things that prevent you from fasting. They should not be there, like what we mentioned about the blood of the period, the menses, or the postpartum bleeding due to pregnancy, delivery, nifas. Also, from the conditions of the validity, and we mentioned this at the very beginning, and that is an-niyyah, the intention. One must intend that they will be fasting at night time. At night time, they must establish that intention that they will fast the next day. That's it, inshallah, for today. And I've been getting calls. People are asking me about Ramadan, if Ramadan is tomorrow or not. The issue is that some of the countries today, Wednesday, for them was the 29th. So they went out to look for the new moon. And there is no report of any sighting. And there was no point in going out to look for the new moon because we already know that it is not born. It is not born. It is going to be born tomorrow. I mentioned to you the details yesterday. But anyhow, and even from Egypt, I saw that the Mufti there, he said that we went out to sight the new moon. It was not seen, and this matches with the scientific evidence. There is no point in going out to look for the moon when you know for certain that the new moon is not there, because you're going against things that are established. And the scholars of the past, they mention, and I've seen a lecture by the Sheikh Mashhur Hassan Salman, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, mentioning the example of someone coming and saying that this person is my father. So let's say someone who is 20 years old, right? And he comes, he says, this is my father and he did this to me. And you look at the father, how old is the father? The father is 15. Or it could be close, but then it more than likely it cannot happen like that. This is where the problem is. The scientific information has become so much established that it is not acceptable. It is not acceptable that we ignore this information. And one of the members of the senior scholars of Arabia, Sheikh Dr. Abdullah bin Sulaiman Al-Mani', Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, is still alive. He was actually debating with some of the scholars whom he respects so much, and their knowledge and understanding is and the status in the religion is well preserved. But however, he was discussing this issue with them, that we cannot be like this in our time, where the scientific information is so much not only established but widespread, so much to a point that we have so many observatories in our land and so many sophisticated equipment that are being used. And then those observatories and those telescopes and very high-tech instruments, none of them can sight the new moon. And there is someone that comes and he says, I saw it with my naked eye. Add to that the fact that we already know through scientific evidence not through speculation. Many people think speculation. It's not a speculation anymore. It's like scientific evidence. Yani it's established. It's not doubtful. It's bona fide facts. So we cannot just ignore that and go for the sighting. يعني this person is يعني not providing, يعني we have to say, even if they are righteous people, pious people, we do not say anything about their piety or their, but we say that this is wrong. This information is just wrong. يعني it cannot be. يعني it cannot be. So this is the case, and Allah knows best. So tomorrow definitely is not a fasting day. Fasting is either Friday or Saturday, actually Friday or Saturday. And those who are asking about Arabia, Saudi Arabia, and the information regarding it, what's happening there, then like last year, like what happened last year, the crescent of Sha'ban was not sighted. The crescent in the beginning of the month was not sighted. So they just went with whatever information they have. So based on that, the calendar of al-Qura, which is being used normally, yani tomorrow is not fasting. It starts on Friday. يعني but then يعني the محكمة العليا, the higher court, is asking the people to go out to look for the new moon tomorrow, to look for the new moon tomorrow, because they were not sure about the beginning of the month. They were not sure about the beginning of the month. The issue is that Thursday, is it 29 or is it 30 of Sha'ban? Is it the 29th of Sha'ban or is it the 30th of Sha'ban? Right? So this is the case. That's where the doubt is. That's where the doubt is. That's why they're not telling the people that tomorrow final, it's 30th, therefore Friday is the first day. They're not doing that. Like I told you about Egypt, about Lebanon, about Iraq, they went today. Today for them is the 29th of Sha'ban. So they went today. They did not sight Wednesday. They did not sight the new moon. Therefore, tomorrow, Thursday, is the 30th of Sha'ban to them. And Friday, there is no discussion that it is the first day of Ramadan for them. For Saudi, they are not sure. They are not sure if tomorrow, Thursday, they are not sure if it is the 29th or it is the 30th. They are not sure about that. So they don't know exactly what to do. So therefore, they want to go with the moon sighting, whether they will see it tomorrow night or not. They will base their decision on that. However, in our case, as I told you yesterday, that more than likely it will be seen in North America and also in South America. So more than likely Friday is the first day, inshallah ta'ala, of fasting, and Allah knows best. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.